if you want to take out your phone and in your browser, you may have downloaded the app in advance, but if you want to take out your phone and just put this in your browser, sli.do, you can do that. And everything that you do on this, you can create an account if you want, or you can do it anonymous. So don't feel like you don't have to attach your name to this or anything. You can do it all anonymous. We're okay with that. So, and then it'll prompt you for an event code, and you'll just want to enter in the event code that you see right there. Hashtag, I think it already puts the hashtag in there for you. So you just have to put U222. We're not fans of U2. I mean, I don't know why it's U2. I don't create the codes. That's just what it gives us. So, all right. So you'll see once you get logged in, has everybody got the code U222? We're going to change off this screen. So that should log you in there. And once you get logged into the event, is everybody there? Does anybody need us to hold up on that screen? Everybody good? Okay. All right. So we're going to go on to the next screen. Once you get logged in, you ought to see this. Go ahead and hit that next slide for us. It'll look something like this. You'll see two things. You'll see questions and you'll see polls. We're going to work in these two areas. Questions are for you to submit in, and you can also see the other questions that are coming through that other people are asking. And they're going to be, I don't think anybody would put anything crazy that's through, but they're moderating the questions that come through in the back. So, but you put your questions through, they'll push them through, unless it's something crazy. No, I don't know if Butch Jones is getting fired. I'll go ahead and put that one out there. So you can put questions. The other thing is polls. Polls will be when we turn those on. So we've already got, if you want to click over to the polls tab, there's already one that's active and ready to go, and we will only keep the polls open just for a minute. So when we pop up the polls, you need to go ahead and click over to polls and answer polls. So there's one in there right now. This is not a very serious one. This is kind of a practice one to get you going. I mean, it matters, but best time for the Christmas Eve service. We're just wanting a little feedback from you. Last year, in the past, the Grove has done a Christmas Eve service, and I've never been to it, but I've been told it always goes over really well. And it didn't happen last year, so we're just asking for a little feedback, and you can see live results right here. Thank you for the 30-plus who are already answering. Just give us a little feedback on maybe what works best for you, and then that'll just kind of give us a gauge on how to do that. We're just trying to be sensitive to your schedules and see what might fit best. For the most people, we can't accommodate everybody, but we want to see what might fit best for everybody, and also for you to be able to invite people to come with you. Super pumped about our Christmas Eve service. So you can keep replying to that for a couple more minutes. If you want to go ahead and, if you have questions, anything that you want to send in, like I said last time, I've already talked a lot, so I'd like for you all to help kind of drive this conversation now. If you don't put questions in, then this kind of gets dull. But so you can also, as you see questions come in, there you can like those, and that's what I'll kind of watch for, is to see if there's several of them that are getting likes. Then I'll focus on those. But there's a couple that's already come in, so I'll go ahead and answer on those while you are maybe typing in a question that you may have. The first question is, what do we do when we feel that Jesus is not present or he's asleep in our storms? How do we not go into a pity party or anger? That's really good. And so I think one thing to think about with that is, we are created to be relational people. And one thing, and you got to kind of know yourself. A lot of times I think when life isn't going the way that we want and we think that Jesus has checked out on us, what we do is we then check out on the people around us and we withdraw. And you've got to kind of know, we all have defaults. We have ways that we're naturally inclined to lean when things get tough. Typically, the two extremes, one end of the extreme is you go into a complete withdrawal, which will almost lead to depression, or could lead to depression. On the other end of the spectrum is you get really, really good at faking it, and you actually go to another level of socializing and being extroverted, if you will. So you kind of got to know how you're wired. Introvert and extrovert really has nothing to do with whether you like to talk on stage or not. We get that confused a lot of times. It's all about how you recharge and how you refocus. So if you tend to be more introverted, you're going to be more inclined to withdraw from people too far to the point that you fall into depression. If you tend to be more extroverted, you're going to overcompensate socially for what you feel Jesus is not giving you. So you got to know your extreme, first of all, and then I would say you've got to get around people in a healthy way. So if you feel like Jesus is not showing up in the middle of your storm, you feel like he's asleep, you've got to get around other people. And you've got to know which of the extremes you're going to go to that'll keep you from doing that. So that's really important to do that. So we got another poll. We'll go ahead and throw another poll up there for you. It's a big poll to answer. The next poll question is, what is the bigger struggle for you? What is the bigger struggle for you? Is it not losing hope in a seemingly hopeless situation? Is it trusting Jesus when the unexpected storm arrives? Or is it staying focused on Jesus when you're afraid to take your next step? Those are some things that we've hit on over the last few weeks. So it'd be cool to kind of see how that shows up in our different lives. It all hits us differently. While you guys can keep that poll active for a minute, and I'm going to answer some questions that come through. Here's a great question. This one's gotten six likes. I'll go ahead and hit this one. When our friends and loved ones are going through storms, how can we help point them toward Jesus? What is the best way to encourage them? That's awesome. And I think hopefully I've been here a little over 6 months now, so you've heard me say this, so I'll say it again. Hopefully you know my heart behind it. Don't go church on them. Don't go church on them. And if you don't know what I mean by that is typically what I was trained to do growing up here in the South as a Jesus follower is when somebody's going through a hard time, come to church and Jesus is going to fix everything. That could be the right invitation. That could be. But it could be the complete wrong invitation too. So you need to take time to get to know like where their hurt's coming from. And you need to know their background. I've seen it before where if somebody's going through a rough stretch and you go church on them, and the last time they were in a church, somebody tried to church them, and it didn't go so well, that could be like a very bad invitation to give them because they may say, well, if that's all you've got to offer, then that's not going to work for me. I've already tried. Anybody ever told you I've already tried church and it didn't work? All right. So when you hear that, don't get discouraged by that. Like if you invite somebody and they say, "Oh, I've tried church and it didn't work," don't say, "Oh, well, I don't know what else to do." You just got to switch your approach, and the approach is to get more relational. And so the best thing that you can, and I think I said this morning, the best thing that you can do for somebody who's going through a tough time is to listen to them, help them. Don't try to fix them. Like for the guys in the room, our wives hate that. When they come to us and they're like, "Oh, I'm having a bad day," and then we try to fix it, right? We're like, "Well, if you hadn't have done this, this, and this, you'd have a better day." And then, we're in the doghouse. Don't try to fix people. Just listen to them. Maybe even learn to ask some questions that can help them unpack what they're going through a little bit more. So listen, ask questions, and share your story. Just share maybe how you've walked through a similar thing and how God showed up in the middle of that. Point them to some scripture to read. You want to kind of own your faith. Start opening yourself up for people who are hurting. Let them start asking you questions. That's going to drive you to go get in scripture because then you're going to be like, "Oh, well, I don't know what to say, but I'll go look it up." That's going to drive you to get in scripture and seek God out. So, and then that gives you ways to direct them. So the best way you can encourage them is to listen to them, ask them questions, share your story. Another simple way that I like to think about that one is just invest personally and invite appropriately. So the appropriate invitation may be, "Hey, why don't you come with me?" You bring them with you on Sunday morning. That may be the best thing to do. The best invitation may just be to go have a cup of coffee and just give them that ear that they maybe feel like they don't have. All right, so good question. So let's look at another poll question here. We put another poll question in. What fear holds you back the most from connecting with people who don't know Jesus? Or maybe you're not for sure if they know Jesus or not. So we've talked a lot about your grave, your masquerade that you've had. God works through that to work through you to be the church, to help impact other people around you. It's not just the pastor's sermon on Sunday. It's got to be It's got to be all of us together as the church. So what fear holds you back? That they might ask a question I don't know how to answer? That maybe there's this thought that you think, my story isn't that great, so what if it doesn't make an impact? Someone might respond and want to learn more, but I don't know if I have the time to disciple someone, because to start pouring your life into somebody, it's messy. And if you're type A and you like to have every hour of your day planned out, and this is my routine and this is my rhythm, and God's not going to interrupt it, that's a fear that's there, and you've just got to own that and bring that before God. Or maybe it's just everything. Maybe it's just the overwhelmed feeling of everything. So, and let me, since I see a lot of people are really hitting on, they might ask a question I don't know how to answer. Let me just encourage you with one thing on this, because I believe God's sovereign and He knows where you're at, and He knows your story better than you do. So here's what I've typically seen God do in my own life and in other people's lives, as I've tried to encourage them to do this as well. God has a way of, when you let the Spirit, so where you get into situations where you get asked all these weird questions like, when is the white horse coming? It's like all these things. Somebody opened up Revelation one day and they read about a horse, and then they're like, what's this horse thing, going to happen? When's the world going to blow up? You get those questions. I found, sometimes people will ask those, but when you let the Spirit lead you, when you're building a relationship with somebody and you're letting the Spirit lead you, God's in control of this, right? If He's leading you, He's working in them, He's working in you. He knows your story, He knows their story. I'm not going to say they're not ever going to ask a question that you don't know how to answer, but if you're letting Him lead you and He's at work and you're just trying to join Him in that process, He has a way of helping you when you don't know what to say. And the greatest thing that you can do for somebody is to just say, that's a great question. I don't really know. I don't really know the answer. But I'd love to spend some time looking into that for you, and then maybe we could get together and talk about it again. That's the best answer you could give somebody. To try to say, well, I think I heard a pastor say one time something about, and just don't go there. Just own it. So I don't really know. I don't know. That can be the grace. In this culture today, that'll earn you a lot of respect. That'll earn you respect with people today. We're in a different culture today that requires us to communicate with people differently, and they'll see right through you if you're trying to fake an answer. So just own it. All right, so I'm going to switch back over to questions a little bit. That's a great question. What is an easy way to start conversation with families at the event tonight without being weird? Oh, I love the intentionality. That's awesome. So, look, here's a couple things you can do. Hi, my name is. What is yours? Seriously, that's it. We're not going in Bible thumping people. Introduce yourself, ask them what their name is, start there. A next question, if they're like, Tom, and they don't even look at you thanks for coming, maybe that's as far as that one goes. But if you ask and they seem a little interested, then a great next question is, how did you hear about the event tonight? So maybe they got an invitation from someone, and then you could kind of get to know their story a little bit. Maybe they heard about it from the school, and then you could find out a little bit more about how long have their kids been in the school, talk about their kids, talk about things that's going to be interesting to them. You come up and start asking about my kids, I'll talk all day about my kids. That's how most of us are, right? So if they found about it, because the school sent flyers home Thursday or Friday, so we may have some families show up from the school. So just be natural, be normal, and let the Spirit lead you. But I think those are two easy ways to just start a conversation. And you can also look for what people are wearing. I doubt anybody's going to be